Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fearless with Mary. I am your host, Mary Tibbetts, and I am so happy you are here with me today. In today's episode, I am sitting down with Katrina Readman, who is a registered dietitian and owner of the Food Relationship Solution. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Hi, Katrina. How are you?
Hi, Mary. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on today.
Yeah.
So we're going to just dive right into it. What inspired you to become a registered dietitian, and how did your journey lead to founding the Food Relationship Solution?
Well, I guess when I was deciding what I wanted to do after high school, I was always kind of just interested in food and nutrition. I still do live an active lifestyle. I'm in the interior of British Columbia in a small mountain town called Invermere. So lots of like outside time, lots of hiking. My family's very active. So we just kind of have a very healthy lifestyle here. So naturally, it kind of fit from that angle. Plus, I really liked the science aspect of it. I really liked my biology courses and my like chemistry type stuff. And I really hated math, and I didn't need math to become a dietitian. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so kind of just the combination of that, I guess, made me just pick it from like a I'm interested in it standpoint. And then yeah, just really enjoyed learning the science of human physiology. Kind of a bit of a nerd. And that way I like to read research studies, so it just kind of fit from that angle. And then I didn't imagine myself creating this type of business, I guess, from the beginning. I kind of always had in mind, I always saw myself in private practice in some way, shape, or form as I kind of learned more about the careers involved in nutrition. And then I started my career with a private practice in Edmonton. It was more, we had multiple dietitians, and if you're in Edmonton also, you may be familiar, it was Revive Wellness. And
Oh,
so that kind
yes,
of
actually,
opened.
I am.
Do you? Okay. Yeah. So I started my career with them, and anyways, lived in Edmonton, went to school in Edmonton, and it was great. Kind of saw lots of different clients from all different angles. I worked a lot in gut health. I did lots of weight loss stuff, heart healthy eating, kind of a mix of a lot of different things, and was always really drawn to helping women that were struggling in their relationship with food. And so I always found myself kind of naturally the conversation would flow there, because I realized, especially more of the weight loss conversations, like these women, they wanted to lose weight or just be more fit and healthy. But underneath that, I realized there was this kind of underlying struggle with food. They were always constantly thinking about food, stressing about food, about what they should or shouldn't eat. They were always, calorie tracking or portion controlling, and food was just such a big stressor in their life that was actually making everything even worse. So it was kind of like this underlying problem that I just found kept coming up. And then through my own journey, I guess, when I was younger, before I went to school and all of that, I struggled in my relationship with food too. And so from kind of more of a personal experience and then seeing it professionally too, I kind of realized, hey, I think this is actually where I want to really focus. And so that kind of led me to building my own business and creating the Food Relationship Solution.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So you're saying people's relationship with food. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I feel like everybody has, not everybody, but almost everybody I've talked to, yeah, most of them don't really have a great relationship with food. I now have a great relationship with food after the last year because I had to learn how to have a good relationship with food. I wish I would have known how to do this my whole life. So, can you elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by the relationship with food?
Yeah, first of all, I agree. I hate to say it, but I agree. I work mostly with women, but it shows up in men too. I feel like it's not as open maybe, but yeah, in women especially, it's whether it's, just something slight, or if it's like a major big issue in their life, maybe it's an eating disorder, right? That would be kind of like the far extreme of it. I find most women struggle in some way, shape, or form. And I think it's we're all born into this world. I use kind of a, I guess, what would it be called? A philosophy, I guess, called intuitive eating. And so in that kind of realm of thinking, we're all born into the world as intuitive eaters, meaning like if you've had kids or you know young kids, like they're very good at knowing exactly how much food their body needs. They know when they need to eat, they know when they need to stop eating, like they're very in tune. So they're like the perfect model of what an intuitive eater is. And so we're all born with that innate ability to really be like perfectly connected with our bodies, to know exactly how much food we need for survival, basically, without gaining weight, without losing weight, all of that. But that's where it kind of gets tricky, because as we, get older, we start to be influenced by other things, like mostly diet culture and external factors that basically lead us away from that innate ability to trust our body. Even like parenting styles, right? Like you must finish your plate, otherwise you won't get dessert. So then that's forcing kids to disregard their fullness sensation if they want dessert, and using food as reward. And so all of these things that come up as we grow up and even into adulthood, they can take us away from trusting our own body, which complicates things more and leads into a lot of the struggles I see in women, which is the overeating, the emotional eating, the eating to cope with stress and overwhelm and anxiety, cravings, all of those things, food guilt, thinking about food all the time. So that's what I mean when I say struggling in their relationship with food, is like those more of, I guess, symptoms of it that are the real struggles for the women that I see.
Well, pardon me. I know not so much. It's really interesting. And I don't know if this plays a part with diet. So I don't have, oh my God, there's such a long list. So I don't have sugar, dairy, wheat, gluten, sugar, dairy. I think there's one other thing that I don't have. But it's interesting because since I cut all of that out, I don't have cravings.
Yeah.
So is there a correlation with that?
I looked this up relatively recently in the research. There wasn't a ton of research that I remember. Some of it was saying that can happen, right? Like when we cut things out fully, we can see a reduction in cravings, but sometimes the opposite can be seen as well. And that's more that's more of the conversation I seem to be having with women, is that when we tell ourselves we can't have XYZ, dairy, gluten, sugar, whatever, our brain wants it more. And that's when like the cravings start, or when there is a plate of cookies there, whether it's, a social gathering or around the holidays or whatever, Easter's coming up, right? Lots of chocolate, whenever those things are there, that's when it feels like we can't control ourselves over them because we're not allowed to eat them. There's something special. We're not going to be able to eat them tomorrow. So may as well just go to town on them right now. And so it becomes this all or nothing mentality. So I've seen a little bit of both sides in the research. I tend to kind of favor not favor, but I tend to teach more about learning to have all foods in your diet. I mean, assuming it's not for a health reason or some allergy or what have you, because then you can actually learn to have these foods around and act quote unquote normal around them, so that you're not like overdoing it when you do have them, and there's no guilt and that side of it.
Yeah, mine's a health reason. That's why
Yeah.
I can't,
Okay.
which is interesting
Yeah.
because up until then, I used to be like, shouldn't have, I can't, you do all the diets, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's done all of the diets. Everybody. Even if you're super fit and you're so healthy and everything, everybody has done at least one diet in their
Mhm.
life, and they can't, if they said no, I would call them a big fat liar, because
Yeah.
if everybody has done at least one. So I was that person. Mini eggs, man. Mini eggs. I'm telling you, they are the devil. They are so good. They
Yeah.
are so, but we would buy an extra bag just so we could like snack on them before Easter even got there, because that's the only time of year that you do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's crazy like to think, and I would hide it.
Mhm.
I would like stand in my office and or put it in my
Yeah.
little pocket
Yeah.
and walk around and like pop a couple in my mouth. Why?
Mhm.
Why do people do that?
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
so crazy.
it's complicated. It's definitely, there's a lot of psychological things involved for sure. And often actually, if it is more of like a I don't know, more complicated, I guess, psychological route. Like I work a lot with psychologists and mental health therapists or counselors because I'm not an expert in that area. We can do some work there, but if there's more going on, and a lot of the time it stems from something traumatic, like childhood trauma or a messy divorce or something like pretty traumatic. That's where a lot of these food issues can stem from, especially if there's an emotional connection, which most of the time I'm finding there is with the women I talk to. And so, yeah, sometimes we need more of an expert in terms of like the psychology end of it to really help too. So, and I've talked to psychologists that, really like sending their clients my way because they're not an expert in the food stuff. So you kind of almost need both experts there because it is so closely connected.
Yeah, well, and it does have a lot to do with trauma. Like it does.
Yeah.
100% it does.
Yep.
So, what would you say the biggest misconception people have about improving their relationship with food?
That's a good question. When I find when women come to me, they're not necessarily saying, "Ooh, I want to improve my relationship with food." They I don't think they maybe it's that they don't understand that that's what they need to do, or maybe it's because they're like the problems they're experiencing, they don't necessarily call them their relationship with food is the problem. It's that they're overeating. It's that they're stress eating. It's that they're feeling guilty and food is taking up so much mental energy that it's draining them and they're exhausted and they're yelling at their kids and they're having fights with their husband and all of these things. So those are the main problems that they're kind of telling me about. And so I think the main misperception about how to solve those problems is, everyone tells me they just want a meal plan. They just want to know what they can and can't eat. They just want to know how to portion control. It's like, that's not going to help.
No.
It may feel like it's going to help for a month, 2 months, whatever, however long you can stick to it. But it's not usually a long-term solution because the real reason they're having these problems is their relationship with food. So I think the misperception is that they don't really realize that the root cause of these issues is stemming from something deeper. And sometimes it needs to be explored more with therapy, right? If it's a traumatic thing that happened, for example, or it's just, we just need to rewire the way we view food. Like start noticing how you're talking to yourself about food. What are you saying to yourself after you overeat? A lot of women I talk to are really mean to themselves. They don't show themselves a lot of self-compassion and like those types of things. We need to work on rewiring that and viewing food just more positively. And we're so on autopilot. We don't even know these things are happening. And because diet culture is so ingrained, we don't even realize that it's like just such a normal part of conversation. Like if you actually start paying attention to the way you talk about food or the way your coworkers talk about food or your friends, it's actually really eye-opening. And that's one of the big kind of realizations, the big aha moments my clients have when we start first working together is like, holy crap, like it's everywhere. Like it's
Yeah.
absolutely everywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I can have a conversation. There's actually only one of my girlfriends who has a really great she's a yoga instructor though, but she has a really great relationship with food. I would say that she probably has I wouldn't say great, but she has the best one out of everybody I know. Cause she does wellness, like that's part of who she is,
Mhm.
right? The thing is people take comfort in food.
They
It's
do, yeah.
literally called comfort food,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's ingrained in our heads and yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like comfort food, it's literally like a word, right? It's like I don't know, a theme of foods, comfort foods.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily think like it's a bad thing to like, have a comfort food or to really enjoy food and to have kind of that emotional connection to it. I think it becomes troublesome when like that's an ongoing outlet for whatever emotion you're feeling, whatever it's stress or sadness. And if that's like the only way you're coping with it, and if it's becoming like disruptive and toxic, I guess, like that's when, okay, we need to have a conversation about it. But I think like food makes us feel good, right? Like it does, like it's just part of what happens physiologically sometimes. And so I don't think like that in and of itself is a quote unquote bad thing, but it's when it becomes yeah, like when we're fixated on it or when it happens a lot every day, when it's the only way we feel we can feel better for whatever issue.
Yeah. So you said toxic. So how would you define a toxic relationship with food? And how can somebody recognize that they have one?
Yeah. I think it's on a spectrum, to be honest. Like we were talking about at the beginning, like some women, well, most women struggle in some way, right? Whether it's like, oh, I have a craving once in a while for mini eggs, but I don't want to eat them because I'm worried I'm going to gain weight, right?
Yeah.
That's a form of a toxic relationship with food. Maybe toxic is a bit strong if that's like the only issue we're having, but like that's a form of struggling with food in some way
Yeah.
versus like it could go as far as like a full-blown eating disorder.
Yeah.
So it's a spectrum, I think. I think some of the issues like most women I talk to have that I think maybe points to how do I know if I'm struggling with food? It's like, are we thinking about food a lot? Do we think about food other than when we're not hungry? Because if we're thinking about food any other time than if it's just, hunger or, we walk by a bakery and it smells delicious, like that is where like food is preoccupying a lot of your thoughts. That's a problem. If we feel, we're overeating all the time, we're eating past the point of fullness, we're uncomfortably full often. I would say that's kind of a, I guess, warning flag that we're maybe struggling in our relationship with food. Food guilt is huge. Whether it's, oh, I overate, now I'm so disgusting, whatever, what kind of language we're telling ourselves, any type of food guilt, shame, embarrassment, that's a red flag. It might even be like about the type of food you ate, right? Maybe you didn't overeat. Maybe you just had a cookie or two and you felt that you shouldn't because you're on this diet or whatever you're doing. Emotional eating, right? Like, okay, yes, most of us emotionally eat in some way, shape, or form at some point. Is it happening a lot? Is it happening? I don't even know if I have like a number to give you, but if you feel like it's becoming like an issue, okay, that's kind of a red flag as well. Those are kind of the main ones. Cravings, yeah, cravings a little bit. I think like again, cravings are a fairly normal thing to experience, but it's when it's happening a lot and it's like occupying a lot of your thoughts and you're spending a lot of mental energy, maybe trying to like have stronger willpower. I hear this a lot, stronger willpower to avoid eating whatever it is, the chocolate, the sugar, the salty snacks, or we're, having a craving for something, but we don't want to eat it because it's bad for us. So then we're, trying to do better things that might satisfy it. Maybe we try drinking tea and it's like, well, that doesn't help. So then we go back and try maybe some grapes. And it's like, okay, that doesn't satisfy the craving. Let's go back. And we might go back 2 or 3 more times until we just end up eating the food we were craving originally. So lots of like patterns I see with these types of things. But I think that sheds a bit of light on some of the struggles that I think are fairly common that maybe we don't realize are like a warning flag that, yeah, we could be struggling with our relationship with food, that could be beneficial to work on healing that and resetting our relationship with food, rewiring the way we think, because it trickles down into so many different areas of our life if you really like dive deep, which is what I do on my kind of discovery type calls. But when somebody is interested in working with me and, we really dive deep and figure out like, how is this actually impacting your life? And it's amazing the women that, don't realize how impactful it is.
Mhm.
Like, I'm exhausted because I'm always thinking about food and I feel like I need to exercise a lot because I just overate, and then I'm exhausted by the time the day ends and I'm grumpy and yelling at my kids, so it's impacting my relationship with my children. We would never think that, right? From food, that it's impacting our relationships with our kids until you actually start to like really dive deep into it.
Yeah, I know, like even so before, I know if we would have something, so let's say we had pizza.
Mhm.
That's a guilt food for me. I would have 2 or 3 pieces. I wouldn't have just one piece or two pieces. I would actually have like 3 or 4 pieces, and then I would be mad at myself. But then it's also all of the ingredients and everything that's in it that also can put you in a really bad mood if it does, because it makes you not feel good
Yeah,
on top of it,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
So I don't think that people put it together, and then they're irritated with the kids because the kids are acting up. Guess what? It doesn't sit well with them either
Yeah.
because, right? Like there's processed food, there's all of these things that are in it that people don't take into account. They just think, well, it's pizza.
Right.
So when you sit and you talk with people and you come up with a plan with them, do you give them healthy alternatives for what they do eat?
In a way, so my main, I guess, approach is really the first thing we do is really reconnect with everything. Like really become like ultra aware of everything that's going on. How do you feel after you eat pizza? Does it hurt? Like just really noticing everything. And then once we're able to kind of identify these things, then we're better able to understand what will happen if I eat 4 pieces of pizza. Well, I'm gonna get a
Yeah.
stomach ache. I'm gonna snap at my kids. I'm gonna feel like crap mentally and physically. So do I? What can I like? Am I going to be motivated to eat 4 pieces of pizza? Probably not. We're probably going to be more motivated to maybe not even eat the pizza, right? If we
Yeah.
don't because it doesn't make us feel good, not because we're worried about gaining weight. So
Yeah.
it's a different shift, and maybe it's just like, that would happen to me too. If I ate 4 pieces of pizza, that would be like, ugh, it'd be
Oh my
awful,
God.
right?
It's the worst thing ever. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
but
Yeah.
I don't usually eat 4 pieces of pizza. I usually eat 2, and I have a side salad, and I feel fine.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act. So I don't usually, provide alternatives that way. I mean, if there's more of like an allergy, like I've had someone with celiac go through my program before, and we could come up with like a celiac or a gluten-free pizza, for example, like that kind of thing. But I tend to avoid like the healthy version of the pizza so that because it's almost like a band-aid, right? Because like you said, like you just don't eat pizza anymore. So maybe if you did again, like the same feelings would still be there because the issue was actually never addressed. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Mhm.
My situation's a lot different than other people that
Yeah.
you deal with. So
Yeah.
that being said, cauliflower crust is not horrible. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's actually
Yeah.
really good.
I've heard my sister has celiac disease actually. So and my dad it runs in my family.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think the Boston Pizza has a cauliflower crust, and she actually thought she got like real pizza. She was like, "Oh my
No,
god,
it's
I'm
really
poisoned."
good. It's really, really good. Well,
Yeah.
the frozen stuff at the grocery store is not really
Uh,
good. It is
yeah.
really gross, but I think it is Boston Pizza, and I think Blaze Pizza has it too.
Yeah, yeah, I've
I
seen it
think.
there too.
Yeah. I do miss eating Blaze Pizza. It was my favorite.
I
But
used to load those guys right up.
yeah, I'm like, you could add a little more olives. It's okay. Keep going. Yeah. Okay. So can you walk us through the key pillars of the food relationship solution?
Sure. So it's kind of 3 main phases. So I kind of alluded to it already. The first stage is all about the mindset with food and really rewiring the way we view food, becoming ultra aware of everything, how we're thinking about food, the way the world thinks about food and how that's influencing your own relationship with food and then your life, right? Like how that's impacting your life as a whole. And then really learning to reconnect with your body. That's kind of the first step because if we're and that's often the missing step actually for a lot of people that have tried to stop, overeating, emotional eating, whatever their issue is, they skip that step and then just go straight to balanced eating, which is the next step in the food relationship solution. But if you haven't first done the foundational work and really reconnected with your body, ditch diet culture, that's a big part of what I do, right? Getting rid of those old mentalities, getting out of the all or nothing thinking, and it doesn't usually, magically happen in that first stage. Is kind of like an ongoing thing that we're always going to be working on, but the foundation of it is set up in that first kind of stage of the food relationship solution, reconnecting with your hunger and fullness sensations. I've had women, feel like they're no longer overeating to the point of like extreme fullness in the first few weeks. So these things like that have been going on for women for like literally their entire lives. Actually, we can see some really quick changes happen in the first few weeks, which is really cool. So that all kind of happens in the first part. And then, like I said, I move on to the balanced eating pieces. To women, what actually is balanced eating. So many women are just confused. They've done the keto, they've done the opposite of the keto, right? Like vegetarian, they've done the Weight Watchers, they've done this, they've done that. There's so much conflicting information out there, especially with like Instagram and influencers and all of that. Everyone's saying something different. So people are confused. Like, what actually is balanced eating? What should I be doing? So that's kind of the foundation of the middle part, while at the same time incorporating everything that we've we've learned at the beginning stages and kind of building that into how do I actually fuel my body now. And then the last stage is kind of like the cherry on top, putting all the pieces together, learning to eat mindfully, really becoming that intuitive eater, eating the healthy, quote unquote healthy choice because, we want to. And I feel better when I eat that, not because I'm worried about gaining weight or I feel like I should or shouldn't. And so that all comes together kind of in the last stage there. And it's a really powerful kind of journey that happens. And it's a lifelong journey, right? Working on your relationship with foods, it's like a up and down thing throughout life. And so this is kind of like the beginning pieces of it all. And I often encourage women to kind of go back and like redo modules that they've done at the beginning because we'll be kind of looking at it in a very different way once they've done so much extra work and they've seen kind of are seeing different things pop up after they've already come out of a lot of negative, I think, cycles with food.
Yeah. Because you were saying, I just want to circle back because you were saying how people will eat until they're it's like turkey full.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to feel turkey full every single day. I
Yeah.
understand Thanksgiving and Christmas, whatever. It
Yeah,
happens. It
it happens.
happens.
That is life.
Because you have 27 Christmas dinners to go to, and even if you only have one tiny little bite at each place, you're still so full,
Yeah.
but you don't want to be rude. But that's another thing
Yeah.
too for women because we always celebrate with food.
Hmm.
Birthdays we celebrate with food, baby showers we celebrate with food, the birth of the baby we celebrate with food,
Hmm.
weddings, you
Hmm.
name it,
Hmm.
we celebrate with it.
Yep.
And alcohol, which is a whole other
Yes.
situation, whole different situation. So it's just been ingrained in us. Even if you didn't have traumatic things happen to you when you were younger, it's always there.
Yep.
It's always there. So I think just finding what makes you feel good about what you put in and how you energize your body is so, 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 so important. You do not have to be turkey full all the time.
Yeah, and that's a really good point because a lot of women don't know how to stop eating. Not even women, men too. They don't
Yeah.
know how to stop eating when they're full because they're not feeling fullness until it's extreme. Same thing
Yeah.
happens with hunger, right? They don't feel hunger unless it's extreme. And so part of that like beginning stage is really reconnecting and really starting to feel slight hunger, slight fullness. And over time, then we're able to stop eating when we feel slightly full. We don't end up at that turkey full stage.
Yeah. Yeah, when you sit down with people and you figure it out, do you find that a lot of people switch over to being more of a grazer than like it's kind
Yeah.
of because I don't want to be hungry, but I also
Yep.
don't want to be so full I can't move.
Totally. And I
Yeah,
find I don't use the word grazing necessarily because I think I mean, whatever we mean by grazing, I usually,
snacker.
yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I love snacks. I think snacks are fantastic, and I think that's it's such a, I don't know, demonized thing. Like, oh, we shouldn't be snacking in between meals. Snacks are bad, right? Snacks are not bad. Snacks are not bad. And most people, when they say snacks, they think like, oh, the chips or the candy or whatever. We can have balanced snacks, like a protein and a fruit or a vegetable. Perfect. That's awesome. And so that's what I usually see the shift is from eating
yeah,
like three bigger meals or less, even sometimes two, sometimes one, right? Like some people don't eat a lot until dinner time,
yeah,
to really recognizing that, oh my God, like I'm not really eating a lot of food until I get home. No wonder I'm ravenous and overeating and can't stop because I haven't eaten anything today. And
yeah,
so it becomes a shift of like more of a even spread of food throughout the day and having like, let's say a breakfast, a morning snack, a lunch, an afternoon snack, dinner, maybe an evening snack. That's how I eat. That's how I feel my best, eating every 2 to 4 hours. If I go above and beyond that, you don't want to be in the same room as me. I am not happy.
yeah,
I get
yeah.
hangry, like truly. And then I feel bloated and I'm more likely to overeat and it just kind of spirals. And so that's totally the trend I see. But we have to first recognize that. And that's what happened in the beginning, right? Realizing that this is happening, realizing that, wow, I feel so much better when I eat this way. And it may not be that way for you, but you have to be aware enough to recognize what works best for you.
Yeah. I'm a hangry person too.
Yeah.
Being hangry is like an actual thing though.
I
And I'm
know.
sure that you have had these conversations with women where you're like, they'll say, I'm so cranky with the kids or my spouse or at work or what.
Mhm.
Are you eating?
Yep.
And
Yep.
what are you eating? Because if you're snacking, grazing, whatever you want to call it, and you haven't eaten anything all day, and then you decide to grab a bag of chips and have that as your starting point for the day, yep, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
It's just,
Totally.
it's it is what it is. But it's crazy the amount of people that do it. I remember my mom. I love my mom. My mom is the worst eater on the face of the planet. Like worst. She's a boomer. Anyways, I remember when I was younger and she worked at the courthouse and I would go and I would see her like on whatever day. And I'm like, oh, well, have you had anything? She's like, no, I'm good. I'll have my 2 o'clock chocolate bar because I need the sugar. I'm like,
Mhm.
but shouldn't you like put something else in your body aside from, and then she would drink coffee all
Yep.
day. I have no idea how she looks as good as she does. I'm not even kidding. Like she's going to be 70. She looks maybe 55. I'm like,
Yeah.
and she smokes. Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
I know a lot of the times it unfortunately comes down to genetics. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's 70. The stat I found in research is 70% of the way we look is because of our genetics,
It's
which
crazy.
which can either be like really horrible or awesome, depending on if you like the way your genetics are, right?
Yeah.
And so I find that that can be a big one for people that struggle with body image, because most women that come into the food relationship solution are there in some way because of struggles around body image, whether it's wanting to lose weight or fear of gaining weight, whatever that is, it's closely tied. So yeah, it's interesting.
That's crazy. That it's so interesting. I feel like I could just talk to you all day to find all of the things out, but
Yeah.
yeah. So where can everybody find you and
Yes.
all of that fun stuff?
So the best way would actually be I have a free guide. It's called the Food Relationship Reset Guide, and it basically kind of is like an introduction to what I do, what I'm about, and it gives you 3 tips to basically stop overeating and stressing about your body, which are the two main issues the women I work with see. And I just it's done, or the tips in there are just so different than what we typically see elsewhere. And so it's refreshing. Like a lot of the women tell me like, wow, this is really refreshing. This is so different. This is awesome. It feels sustainable. So that's kind of the best way, I think, if you're interested in what I have to say. I send emails out often. I send a lot of free content out that way. So that's kind of the first way to get into my world, is to get my free guide. And then from there you can go into, I have a Facebook group as well. That's probably the best way. And then I can give you the link to put in the notes so that everybody can find it.
Yeah, that would be great. What is is it linked to a website?
It's linked. No, it's basically it's like a PDF. So basically
Okay.
you would get the PDF and then you would download it, and then you would be in my world, and you'd see my emails come through, and then you can join my Facebook group. Once you sign up to the guide, there's a link to join my group. So that's kind of like the starting point.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
and I'll get all of that from you so I can
perfect.
put it in the clicks and the all the places.
Sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. This was awesome.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Fearless with Mary. I am so happy that you joined us today. If you liked what you heard, make sure you hit subscribe and share it with everybody that you know. You can also go to my website at www.fearlesswithmarytibbetts.ca and you can give us a 5-star review. We would appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody.